there you are. I've been waiting on y'all. Where have you been? I have already started without you. Well, you're here now, so let me get you caught up. You are at the first installment of a playlist on YouTube that I am putting together called, don't know what it's called yet, something about Amish and Mennonite recipes. Y'all, I have a lot of Amish friends and they are dear to me, and I'll tell you about that through this series. But right now, let's get started. So I'll talk to you about the series while we're doing this. So I've got a stick of butter in my pot. Excuse me. I've got another stick of butter. It's preferable to use good healthy butter, but that's not what I have today. What are we making? Well, if you'd been here sooner, you would have known. All right, we're making buttermilk chocolate cake. Buttermilk chocolate cake. And the series, like I just said, is about cooking Amish, going through some Amish and Mennonite recipes. I've got a lot of Amish and Mennonite cookbooks. This one comes from the Miller Family Cookbook. I have used this thing. Look at this, y'all. Look. Let's adjust the light for you here. I don't know if that helps or hurts you. Look at that. I'm glad you're here now. Thanks for showing up. There you go. Look at that thing. Anyway, Miller Family Cookbook. And I'm going to have a playlist of recipes that go through these cookbooks. And you can write them down, try them at home. The deal is I'm not going to modify them very much. Normally I wouldn't use a lot of the ingredients because of a lot of times we're doing low carb and that kind of thing, but for this purpose I'm going to stick as close as possible to the ingredients. Now if it calls for margarine, I'm never going to use margarine. I don't do that, but I'll talk about that as we go through. So right now I'm going to turn on my fire. Here's the deal. It says to melt 2 sticks of butter and it's already measured out, 1 cup of water. Now I don't have this in my head, so I keep referring to the recipe, the cookbook. So you don't ever want to melt your butter. You don't want to melt your butter and then add your water. This is a good tip for new cooks because you will find out after you have blisters all over yourself why you shouldn't do that. So you should put your water and your sticks of butter in there at the same time. Or I have read a recipe. Had a roll recipe a while back, years back, and it called for heating the water and then adding the sticks of butter, and that's okay. But you don't want to add your water to a hot grease. Y'all know that'll splatter. So it calls for 1 stick of butter. And it says, or half a cup of butter and a half a cup of vegetable oil. I don't use vegetable oil. I guess you could use half a cup of butter and half a cup of coconut oil. 2 tablespoons of cocoa. I've already measured this out. 2 tablespoons of cocoa. You like my little containers I got at Goodwill. And that's it. Okay. So I'm going to bring that to a boil. I love cooking with gas. Where's my whisk? I love cooking with gas. So I'm going to get that all melted. All right, my butter and water has come together for our buttermilk chocolate cake. So it said to boil the 1 cup of water, the 1 cup of butter, and 2 tablespoons of cocoa, which I have done. Then it says to pour the boiling ingredients on the dry mixture. Let me tell you real quick about the dry mixture then. I've got 2 cups of sifted flour, and I'll tell you how to sift it in another, in one of my tips in another video that I can try to learn to link to this one. And then it says to sift 2 cups of sugar. So let's go back. We remember what I said in my post my video about sifting, I said I could use one of these strainers. I don't normally sift, but I went through all that in that video that I'm talking about, where it talks about, it's in a Heritage Cooking School video. All right, got some big chunks of sugar, so we'll just leave those out. Get my wooden spoon going on here. Which one do I want to use? That one? That's good. Got all kinds of wooden spoons. So I've got my 2 cups of sifted flour, 2 cups of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't measure. I don't use measuring spoons, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to. So there you go. 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. So I've got the baking soda. I wrote on here also for fires, so that the family knows if there's some kind of a fire, electric fire, they can use that. I've also used this for fires on my skin, burns. 1, 2, 3, so it's 1.5 teaspoons. All right, let's get that out of the way. Right up there. Now, calls for baking soda, because it's also going to call for buttermilk in a minute. The two are going to react with one another and cause a big old scientific experiment, my kids would call it. Okay, so I've got my flour, sugar, and salt and baking soda. So I'm gonna put this right here. Get that back up to a boil real quick. And it says to pour this on top of it. Alrighty, I can do that. Buttermilk Chocolate Cake. One of my sons, my almost 19-year-old, has requested a chocolate cake. And this is not an everyday occasion. I thought since I was making it, I would let y'all in on it. And you know what? Here's a secret. Y'all didn't come in late. I was just kidding about that. This is going to melt the sugar. Got a spoon out, but I love a whisk. Do y'all love a whisk? I use it for so much. Now, if you're using dark chocolate, which I have back there, I just didn't get it out, your batter will be darker. Alright, it's pretty much incorporated now. I'm gonna go to my spoon. That spilled it on me, didn't I? Alright. One tip I like is I try to go directly to the dishwasher with my dirty dishes. Alrighty, what's next, guys? Add 1/2 cup of buttermilk. This is homemade buttermilk. I'll tell you about that in another video. Add 1/2 cup of buttermilk. Pour her right in there. Add a teaspoon of vanilla. Ooh, this is my vanilla from my friend Elise in Oklahoma. If you're on Instagram, see, a teaspoon. If you're on Instagram, that is Granola Mom of Many Blessings. Elise, thank you for this wonderful vanilla. I was out and I went to visit her and she gifted me with that. Oh, so thankful. And 2 beaten eggs. I've already got them right here. Nothing beats homemade vanilla, talking about that. I make my own, but honestly, I was completely out. And it takes about 6 or so weeks to make your own. The vanilla beans sit there in the vodka. All right, I'm gonna stir this up. And that's all there is to it. Okay, so we're gonna put it in our pans. Do it down here for y'all to see. See my greased and floured pans. You know, this is my first installment. I'm gonna do half in each pan. My first installment, I don't know what I'm gonna name it, but cooking with Amish and Mennonite recipes. But there's just some mystique about them, and I say that with respect because I love them. I have a lot of Amish friends I'll tell you about later in another video. But the fact that the first recipe I'm making is a chocolate cake, I mean, how awesome is that? How much better can this be topped? I mean, you know, chocolate cake, hello. So I use a spatula because I don't like those cooking shows. I don't have TV, but I used to, and they put a lot of it in the sink and waste it. So there you go. We're gonna put them in the oven. We're gonna bake it at 350. You know what? She doesn't say how long. Now, this is a good point. They have wood stoves, and they do have thermostat buttons on their stove, so they can tell the temperature. But many of their recipes don't have the time on it, and a lot of them don't even have the temperature. So they just, I've read recipes that said put it in a hot stove, a moderately hot stove, and that kind of thing. So we've baked cakes, so we know 20-ish minutes, 23, 24 minutes. And then you'll test it to see if it's done. Do you know how to test it? Oh, let me show you that later when it comes out of the oven, okay? All right, let's get it in the oven. Now, I put it on the same rack. Ooh, for a while this spring, I felt Amish. I didn't have an electric oven. It died, so we did without for a while. And you know what? It's fine. We lived through it. I'm going to put 24 minutes. Just see what happens. I can tell by looking at it. I can tell by shaking it. And, of course, I'll show you how to test a cake to see when it's done. So yeah. Now, our icing. It says, bring to a boil, remove from heat, and add... Okay. All right. So, by the way, this recipe, it's signed Wayne and Catherine Miller. So, like I said, I'm going to print it down below for you. Half a cup of butter again, 6 tablespoons of buttermilk, and 3 to 4 tablespoons of cocoa. So y'all come back to me in a few minutes. Give me time to get all that gathered together, okay? I'll be back. Don't go anywhere now. It took me a while to get you here. Don't go anywhere. All right. I've assembled the ingredients, what we need for our icing, our Buttermilk Chocolate Cake icing from this Miller family cookbook. So we've got a half a cup of butter. I keep referring to this because it's not in my brain like so many recipes are, and I want to go exactly by the book for y'all. Half a cup of butter, I'm melting, with 6 tablespoons of buttermilk. Remember what I said a while ago? You don't want to add the liquid after your butter is melted. So there's that. Okay, so our butter's melting, our 6 tablespoons of buttermilk, and 3 to 4 tablespoons of cocoa. I did 3.5, said 3 to 4. 3.5 seemed good to me, of cocoa. So I buy it in bulk at the Amish bulk food store in Ohio, where my dad lives. My mom passed away a few months ago, and she loved the Amish community, and they loved her. I'm telling you, when she passed, it was very sad for them, and I'm not kidding. I mean, they rented 3 I think it was. I guess it'd be like 15 passenger vans, and came to her viewing, which is what it's called up there. I'm in Tennessee, but in Ohio they call it viewing. We call it visitation. And they came, they fed us. They just really took care of our family. So the Amish are very dear to our heart, and I don't mean any disrespect by anything I say about them or their lifestyle, because I highly respect it and somewhat envy it sometimes. I've eaten in their homes, correspond with them regularly. All right, I don't want this to come to a boil because of the milk. Don't want the milk to scald. Let's get under this light, see what I'm doing. So it's just melted. And then it says to add 2.5 cups firmly packed powdered sugar. That's interesting because I've never seen it say firmly packed. Sorry for my rabbit trail and my walk down memory lane just now about Mama's viewing. I was just very touched. We all were, by the Amish taking care of us when Mama passed. They loved her. Oh my word. We loved them, but they loved her. She was a southern transplant. to Ohio, and she just endeared those people to her. She was a school teacher up there, and students loved her too. Guess what she taught? Home ec, except she didn't want me to say that word. She wanted me to say, let's get this hair out of here. She wanted me to say consumer science, because that was the PC word, I reckon. Anyway, it was home ec, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm whisking all this in here. What's it say? Teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm whisking 2.5 cups of firmly packed powdered sugar, and then it calls for a teaspoon of vanilla. This hair, I had to go out a while ago to get the powdered sugar out of the shop freezer, and it was raining. The remnants of Hurricane Irma was raining, and so this hair got damp, and now it's in my face and annoying me. Sorry about that, y'all. I think, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the difference in icing and frosting, it's my understanding that icing is thinner and frosting is thicker, like something that wouldn't drip. This would drip off. Adding a teaspoon of Miss Elise's vanilla again. By the way, you can make vanilla taste differently depending on the liquor that you use to make it. Okay. It says I've got 6 minutes on my cake. Let's test it together when it gets ready, and we'll see if it's done. Okay, I'm for sure going to taste this. Here's a spoon. Ha! Happen to have a spoon. No, I didn't plan that. Alrighty. Let's taste it. Oh, I hope I don't... You know what? I've got some white lumps in there. I should have sifted that powdered sugar in here, and I didn't. So they're being real for you. Let's taste it. Oh my word, butter, sugar. I mean, what else is there to life? Whew. All right, it's just sitting there. So I'm thinking I probably should have made this in a 9x13 pan instead of the 2 round cake pans, and that way we could just pour this on top, let it sink down in, because it's not going to work on those. It's not going to stay firm. But I didn't think about that or realize it. So anyway, now there's a way you can thicken this up, and I know how, but for now we're going just by the recipe. And what I'll do is I'll make notes. I'll say use a 9x13 pan or whatever notes. I'm all about notes in my cookbook. All right, well, we're waiting on the cake to bake. My timer has gone off, and I'm going to see if it's done. And I can tell it's not by the way it looks. Kind of jiggles. I don't even have to test it with my cake tester. So I'm going to put it on, 8 more minutes, and we'll see what happens. Okay, it smells done, so I like to go by my smeller, go by the smell of what's baking, and I'm going to test it. See, it's not shaking anymore, and this is comes out clean. This is a little cake tester thing from I don't know when. It's wire. I don't know how old it is, but anyway, cake comes out clean, so that means it's done. You can also, back in the old days, they used to test with a piece of straw off of their broom. Sounds dirty, doesn't it? All right, we'll take it over here to the counter. Okay, so we've taken that out of the oven. Look at how well it came out. It's just a little tiny piece, so that's all right. Came out very well. Remember how we greased and floured the pan? Remember, that's in another video that when I get all fancy dancy, I'll learn how to link it. So go straight to the sink with your dirty dishes, or the dishwasher, I was saying. So here's what it looks like. Let's evaluate. It's kind of a dense cake. Can we see that it's kind of dense? It's not you know, a big fluffy layer, but and we talked already about our icing. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to rescue this. Remember I said it's not going to work like a big frosted icing. You can adapt it. You can use a mixer. You can mix more powdered sugar in it. But that's not what the recipe called for. Remember, we're trying to go by the recipe. So here's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do this hot because the kids are going to want to eat, and I've got other things I need to do. So I'm not going to let this cool. It probably needs to cool for 30 minutes or more. So here's what I've got, this big old thing. It's fall time, not Christmas time, but I've got this. It's going to catch all the icing, and the kids are going to eat it. I guarantee. It doesn't matter what it looks like. My husband says it doesn't matter what it looks like, just what it tastes like. So don't do what I do, just do what I say, right? So you would let this cool, and the fact that this cake is hot and this is made out of butter and powdered sugar, this is going to melt more on your cake. We're going to do it anyway. Like I said, the kids will just eat it up with a spoon and it'll be fine. It'll taste the same. It won't be pretty. Whoa, that's some hot cake. All right. I do have other tips for when, look at that. All right, don't judge me on what it looks like. Just judge me on how much the kids love it. I think Mr. Patient's gonna like that. Okay, remember what I said. It's got the white lumps. What did I do wrong? I probably should have sifted the powdered sugar. It didn't say to, so I didn't. So I should have sifted. So when you're making notes in your cookbook, you can write that down. Sift the powdered sugar. And you know, I've already said I don't like waste. So I'm gonna just dump this on here. Now, what would be different if the cakes were cooled? It would still run. It wouldn't be like a thick icing like, you know, you would buy at the store in the deli department or whatever. It wouldn't be a thick icing. It's still gonna run, but not as badly. So here it is. Like I said, out of the Miller Family Cookbook, and the Buttermilk Chocolate Cake and Cake Icing is what we made. So here it is. Gonna let it cool just a little bit. It does not look lovely. I didn't promise anything lovely. I just promised to go by the recipe, and that's what I did. All right, there it is. They're gonna like it. Join me next time for the next recipe. I'm excited about going through this cookbook with you. Oh my goodness. Oh my word. That is not bad. I don't care what it looks like. Oh my goodness. Oh my word. Okay, that's enough.